This is the fuel cell that I've ordered off Amazon. Difference between this fuel cell and the one I'm using on the street rail project is this one won't come out of the box. How about we take the box off the fuel cell? The struggle is real. All right, the difference between this fuel cell and the one I used on the rail is this one has all of its fittings on the top. I brought the fuel tank over here that I bought for the street rail project so I could kind of show some of the differences. This tank comes with a screw-on cap. This tank did not come with a screw-on cap. I ordered it separate. It came with this kind of cap, and they're kind of prone to leaking, and I don't really like them that well anyway for the design of them. But the two reasons I went with this instead of the same type of tank is it came with a screw-on cap and all the fittings come out the top. There's no fittings out the bottom for the fuel flow. So if you were to get in a wreck and break a fuel line or something, you don't have gravity just feeding the fuel out of the tank. It has to be pumped out. So if the pump cuts out, fuel flow stops immediately. But both of the tanks seem to be made out of pretty solid metal. The welds seem to be they seem to be good welds. Decent penetration on them. This tank also has tabs on it. I would not use these tabs just alone to mount the tank to your project. I made bands that go over the top of this so that a bolt goes through a band that actually holds the tank. So that will just hold it kind of in position. It won't be holding the weight of the tank. Vibration and stuff, I think, would have a tendency to crack these loose. This one has no tabs on it. So I'm going to have to put, some kind of flanges up on my mount to keep the tank from moving around. And I'm going to have to put bands over the top to hold it down. But when I put bands over the top, there's not very much room at either end. There's not very much room in the middle for a band. I'm thinking the bands may have to go this way because there's a few inches of space on either side to get the band up on top of the tank. But we'll see what I come up with for that. But I just thought I want to show you some of the differences in the tanks. I need a script writer or director or something so I don't have to keep doing these add-on things. I'm going to put a link down below for these two tanks in case anybody's interested in using either one of them on one of their projects. And also somewhere up here I will put a link to the fuel system work on the street rail project. This is what I was referring to about this strap being really close to the edge. If it were to slide off the edge of that somehow, there's nothing holding this tank down at all. This strap is also really close to the edge, but if it were to work its way over, it still has the bolts going through down here, holding the tank down. So possibly a strap connecting these two across would work, and possibly putting it on this direction across it where it could be further over on the tank. I really don't know which way I'm going to do it. So possibly, besides a writer, a director, I'm also going to need somebody to make decisions for me. Well, and that's how this works around here. You pick out a real nice fuel tank for the fact that it has the fittings that you think you need, and then you decide, since down in here there's no slosh baffles or fuel trap or anything like that, you decide this has to go in the bottom of it. This will be a lot easier, in my opinion, than trying to build a baffle box in the bottom of this tank, which will probably require me to cut another hole in it anyway. So to get this basket down inside of here, I'm going to have to cut a hole in the tank that big around. This will give me my fuel pump, pressure regulator, fuel filter, everything I need all in one self-contained unit. Once I cut a hole in the top of the tank, I'll need to cut a flat piece of aluminum to make this out of. That piece of aluminum will have to have these two rods mounted to it. That's what the fuel pump basket is held on by. It'll also need to have this mounted in the top of it so that I've got my fittings for my fuel pump and fuel level indicator. And it'll put one of these fittings back in it so that my fuel line can go to that fitting for the output of fuel pressure. To the lathe. And there we have some pieces to make my part out of. Drill a few holes, weld some stuff together. Alright, not sure how well this is going to work. Not very well. Brand new blade helped a little bit. Well, I skipped over the welding part of it here because you definitely do not want to watch me try to weld aluminum. I'm still learning how to do that. But this is how it's all going to hold together, and hopefully when I get through assembling it, hooking up the fuel hoses, it will actually pump fuel. Well, it appears that I have everything I need to put this thing together now. Now all I got to do is bolt that in, put a couple fittings on, tighten up my caps, and hope it works. And it gets a little closer to being in its permanent home every day or every week. And that's all I have for this video. Next time I'm going to hook up some fuel lines, plug in an electrical wire, and see if I can actually get the car to run off this fuel tank. It'll be a step up from a bucket in the front of it. Anyway, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. See you in the next video.